There you are, right on time, as always. Settle in, tuck that blanket up just so, and listen closely. Tonight's story is a slightly spooky one, but don't worry, I'll stay with you till the end. Jordan Bell's stomach fluttered as he climbed the cracked concrete steps of Graymore Middle School. His mom had draped a bright new backpack over his shoulders and insisted on a last-minute hug. But now Jordan was on his own, among hundreds of unfamiliar faces and endless rows of lockers. Inside the main hallway, sunlight slanted through tall windows, dust motes dancing in the beams. Lockers stood in neat lines, glossy paint chipped in places. A senior bumped past him, muttering, "Watch it, new guy." Jordan swallowed a nervous laugh and kept going. He had survived middle school orientation before. He could survive one locker assignment. Homeroom was a blur of seating charts and name tags. Mrs. Caldwell, a kindly but brisk teacher, handed Jordan his schedule. "Locker assignments are on the back," she explained. Jordan turned it over, scanning the list. His finger trembled as he found Bell Jordan, locker number 213. A ripple of nervous energy shot through him. He'd heard the stories. Locker 213 hadn't been open in over 30 years. No one knew why exactly. Some said it jammed forever. Others whispered a student went missing inside. Jordan glanced at the locker row. 211, 212, 213, 214, his new metal prison. At lunch, Jordan made a beeline with his new friend Sam Patel, who perched on the edge of the cafeteria's circular table. Sam grinned when Jordan settled beside him. "So, how's life as a Graymore Middle newbie?" Jordan shrugged, picking at his sandwich. Locker 213. "Is it true nobody's opened it in decades?" Sam's smile faded. Decades. The story goes that Larissa Preston was assigned it in '83. Never used it. When summer came, teachers pried the door open, and she was gone. Just poof. No one saw her leave. Jordan's fork clattered. "Seriously?" "Officially, she ran away. But kids say you'll see her face in the lock if you shine a light at midnight." Sam shrugged. "But it's just a rumor." Jordan forced a laugh. "Yeah, just a rumor." But his heart thundered as the bell rang. They headed back to class, shadows lengthening in the hallway. After school, the hallway emptied except for Jordan. His steps echoed as he approached locker 213. He fished his hall pass from his pocket, slid the combo lock. 12-5-19. Click. He pulled the handle, and the door creaked open of its own accord. Inside was darkness and a thin film of dust. Jordan shone his phone's flashlight into cramped space. The bottom shelf held nothing but a yellowed nameplate. L. Preston 83. He reached in and touched it. The metal was icy, though the school wasn't cold. Goosebumps prickled his arms. He scanned the interior. No books, no coat hooks in use, just a dusty padlock dangling by its chain. Footsteps clopped behind him. Jordan spun, heart hammering. Nobody was there. In the distance, a locker door slammed shut. He jerked back to 213. The light inside flickered, as though something moved beyond the frame. A soft click. The locker door swung shut on its own. Jordan stumbled backward and pressed his ear against the cool metal. Faint scraping sounds, like fingernails on wood, echoed from inside. His pulse tripled. He pulled out his phone and recorded. "Locker 213, he whispered, voice steadier than he felt. "Date, September 2nd. My first day. Something's in here." He stepped away and tried the handle. Wouldn't budge. His breath fogged on the metal door. Then, scrawled across the dented side panel, fresh scratches formed a message. "Help me." Jordan's blood ran cold. He fumbled for his recorder app. No signal. He pounded the door with his fist. Sam, help." Footsteps rushed around the corner. Sam skidded to a halt. "Dude, what's up?" Jordan pointed. Sam flipped on his flashlight. "Holy." They watched as the scratches deepened into jagged lines, spelling out, "Please, free me." Sam swallowed. "We need to tell someone." Jordan backed away. "What if they don't believe me?" A tap at Jordan's shoulder. He spun. Mrs. Caldwell stood there, clipboard in hand. Everything okay? Jordan swallowed. Yes, ma'am. He offered a nervous smile. Just lockers jammed. She frowned. Okay, dear. I'll have maintenance take a look. She turned and walked off. As her shoes clicked down the hallway, the lockers around them clattered. Jordan and Sam exchanged a look. Let's go, Sam said. We'll come back after school. Jordan nodded numbly. He shot one last glance at 213, its old nameplate glinting in light, and hurried away with Sam, the quiet voice of Larissa's plea echoing in his mind. That afternoon, Jordan and Sam waited until the final bell had echoed through the empty halls. When the corridors fell silent, they slipped back toward locker number 213, backpacks slung low. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that seemed to shift and breathe. Jordan's heart pounded. Every footstep sounded like thunder. Ready? Sam whispered, tone half excited, half terrified. Jordan nodded, swallowing. Let's do this fast. They reached the locker row. Jordan paused a step away. At first glance, number 213 looked the same, its scuffed blue paint marked by a lonely nameplate. But as he drew closer, he saw that the combination lock had spun open and dangled loosely as though someone or something had tried to force it. Sam's flashlight beam swept across the floor. Torn pages from notebooks lay scattered, matted into the rubber edge of the hallway. Jordan crouched and picked one up. It was the final page of his math homework, the pencil scribbles shredded into confetti. They tore my work, Jordan murmured. A sudden clang echoed down the hallway. Another locker door slamming shut on its own. They jumped. Sam shook his head. Somebody's in here. Jordan squared his shoulders. We're here to find out what's happening. He slid the lock dial. 12, 5, 19. Click. He pulled the handle. The door swung inward smoothly, revealing a cramped interior. But the usual dusty emptiness was gone. Inside, shelves held Jordan's abandoned gym bag and a stack of Sam's graphic novels, neither belonging here. Why are our things in here? Sam whispered, voice tight. Jordan shone his light into the back of the locker. There was a false panel, slightly ajar, revealing Larissa Preston's nameplate once more. He stepped closer, leaning in. The back panel swung open, and something slipped inside with soft flutter. Jordan yanked back. Did you see that? Sam shivered. Yeah. They watched as the false back slid closed on its own, sealing the panel. Jordan reached in and pried it open with shaky fingers. Inside, he found Larissa's diary. Its leather cover cracked, pages yellowed. A scrap of paper peeked from between the pages. He fished it out. A torn photograph of a girl in 1980s clothing, smiling at the camera, her eyes bright and unremarkable, yet compelling in their fixity. On the back, in neat cursive, September 5th, 1983. I don't know how much longer I can keep hiding. They know where I live. The locker is safe. The lock is magic. It protects me. Jordan's breath caught. Magic? Sam shook his head. This is getting weird. They flipped through the diary. Larissa's entries grew progressively frantic. Mentions of voices in the locker, promises of safety, warnings to never look inside the lock. On the page dated September 12, 1983, Jordan read aloud. Tonight, I perform a ritual. I draw blood on the lock and speak the binding. They'll never find me again. The locker will hold me in the spirit forever. A chill washed over Jordan. She performed a ritual inside her locker. Sam's face paled, and something went wrong. Jordan shut the locker door and backed away. We need to find out more about Larissa and what she tried. Sam nodded. Library. Graymore Public Library, 5:45 p.m. Rows of musty shelves greeted them as they entered the library's quiet gloom. The late afternoon sun filtered through stained glass windows, painting the floor in colored patterns. A librarian glanced up, but returned to her ledgers when Jordan and Sam slipped into the history section. Jordan pulled volume after volume of old yearbooks and newspaper clippings. Sam rifled through microfiche records, scrolling to the shadowy grain of 1983's student newspapers. At first they found nothing, No mention of Larissa beyond a tiny senior portrait in a yearbook and a brief note. Honor student, class of '84. But then Sam unearthed an article in the back pages of September 1983 edition of the Graymore Gazette. Mystery at middle school. Student assigned in used locker. Larissa Preston, 13, assigned to locker 213, a locker decommissioned for unclear reasons. Did not retrieve her belongings last week. Friends report she has not been seen since. Jordan's finger traced the words. This says she never even used it. Sam consulted a filing cabinet of old clippings. Wait, here's a letter to the editor, October '83, he said. He read aloud. Dear editor, my daughter returned to open her locker, a locker she used the previous year, and found the door covered in strange symbols, as if written in dried blood. She got sick and hasn't been back. What is in that locker? Concerned parent. Jordan shivered. Symbols in dried blood. They searched the diary for references to symbols. Jordan flipped to the back. Larissa had drawn crude runic shapes around a tiny sketch of a locker door, her own name scrawled in the center. Beneath, in spidery handwriting, innocuous sigils, binding words, blood and bone, lock the spirit here, flesh and stone. Sam frowned. Do you think the runes are still in that locker? Jordan glanced at his watch. 6:15 p.m. Library closing time approached. Only one way to find out. They hurried back to school. The halls were deserted. The custodian's hush of cleaning machines echoed down the corridors. Jordan and Sam reached locker 213. Jordan spun the combo. 12, 5, 19. Click. The door swung open. Jordan switched on his flashlight. In the corner, he spotted red stains, darkened rust or dry blood, forming shapes. He stepped closer, squatting. The runes matched Larissa's sketch. Jagged lines and angles bordering the locker's interior, faded but still visible. Sam bent to inspect. These look fresh, like they were scrawled yesterday. Jordan swallowed. She carved the symbols herself. He pressed his thumb to one of the runes. The metal edge felt sticky. He flicked it onto his sleeve. Crimson that didn't wipe away. His stomach churned. Sam edged back. We need to wash that off. He held up a handkerchief, but Jordan pressed on. They're instructions, he muttered, reading Larissa's word from memory. Innocuous sigils, binding words, blood and bone, lock the spirit here, flesh and stone. He realized the rhyme echoed a ritual. Blood, bone. Sam's eyes widened. Maybe you need a blood sacrifice to lock something inside. Jordan rubbed at his thumb, smearing the stain. But whose blood? Hers? Mine. A distant door thumped shut like the gym's exit. They jumped. Sam's flashlight beam wavered. We shouldn't be here. Jordan snapped the locker shut and spun away. One more thing. He unlocked it again, reached to the false back, and tugged the diary free. We need this. As they turned to flee, the locker door slammed shut with a deafening clang. Jordan and Sam spun back, hearts racing. Sam turned the lock to secure the door. It clicked, but didn't budge. Help me. A whisper hissed from inside the locker. Jordan's blood ran cold. He pressed his ear to the door. The voice was thin, desperate. Please, free me. Sam grabbed Jordan's arm. We have to get that open now. Jordan jammed the combination, dialing furiously. 12, 5, 19, he growled. Click. He yanked the handle. The door swung inward just enough for him to squeeze through. He slammed it behind him, plunging them both into near darkness. Inside the narrow space, their flashlight beams crossed. The air was stale and smelled of rust and old paper. The diary lay on the floor, the photo peeking out. The runes glowed faintly in the beam's edge. Jordan stumbled forward, grabbed the diary. We're out. Sam fumbled, his fingers trembling as he seized the book. But Jordan froze, noticing that the floor of the locker was damp, a thin puddle of dark liquid pooling at his feet. There was a handprint in the center of the puddle, small, childlike, smeared in blood. Sam yanked him back. Let's go. They burst from the locker into the hallway. The lights overhead flickered back on, and the corridors were empty once more. Jordan slammed the locker door and spun the lock. Panting, Sam held up the diary. What now? Jordan wiped sweat and a trace of blood from his forehead. We need to figure out exactly what Larissa did and how to reverse it before someone else gets trapped. Sam nodded, swallowing hard. Let's start with the diary. At my place. Jordan glanced at his watch. 6:45 p.m. Yeah, quick, before the janitor comes. They slung backpacks over shoulders and sprinted toward the library exit. As Jordan ran, he heard the faint echo of a locker door creaking open somewhere behind him, and a soft giggle that trailed off into night. That evening, Jordan and Sam gathered in Sam's dimly lit bedroom. The glow of a single desk lamp illuminating Larissa's diary spread open on the wooden surface. The air smelled faintly of old paper and pencil lead. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. Streetlights cast long shadows across trim lawns. Inside, a different world waited, one written in spidery ink and desperate pleas. Jordan ran a fingertip down a page dated September 14, 1983. The spirit grows restless. Each night it presses against the lock, whispering to be freed. I drew fresh blood, spoke the binding. But it learns, I fear I have only trapped myself. He looked up, voice low. She thought the blood would seal it. Instead, she bound herself to the locker. Sam swallowed, and now her ghost is stuck. 2. His eyes darted to the heavy lock of number 213, visible through the curtained window. We need to find the reversal ritual. They turned pages, skimming frantic entries filled with instructions scrawled in margins. Find the reversal words. Write them in chalk at midnight. Use silver. Iron cannot break the bond. Speaker name 3 times. Then turn the lock counterclockwise. Blood must be cleansed with salt. Then seal with water from a moonlit well. Jordan tapped the diary. That's our path. Chalk, salt, water. And silver. He pocketed a silver locket he'd found in Larissa's diary. A small heart-shaped pendant engraved with her initials. This must be hers. Sam nodded. We need chalk, white pure. Salt we've got. Water, moonlit well? The old well behind the gym is overgrown, but there's one in the courtyard. Not midnight, but close. Jordan frowned. The instructions say midnight. We wait here then in the hallway. Sam grimaced. We'll freeze. Let's do it after school tomorrow. We'll hang back, wait until the hall's clear, then head to locker 213. Jordan exhaled. Agreed. We need to be ready. Let's gather supplies now. They laid out a piece of chalk, a small pouch of kosher salt, the silver locket, and a flask of water Sam had filled from his backyard hose. Sam added a steel paperclip, his only iron, and Jordan produced a small plastic vial of lavender oil. According to the diary's final page, oil of lavender soothes the restless. If the spirit falters, breathe it near the lock. They checked off each item. Now, Jordan said, voice resolute, we wait until after school. After a restless night, Jordan barely heard his alarm. In homeroom, his palms itched with anticipation. He kept the silver locket tucked beneath his shirt, heart pounding as Mrs. Caldwell explained yesterday's math assignment. Sam passed him a note. Ready tonight? 10:45, locker 213. Bring everything. A smirk flickered across Jordan's face. He scribbled back, see you then. Lunch hour crawled by. Jordan and Sam exchanged nervous glances. At 2:45 p.m., they slipped from the cafeteria under the pretext of a bathroom break. Their backpacks bulged with supplies. Through empty halls they hurried. First floor, then second, finally to the row by 213. They paused a respectful distance away. The locker's cold blue surface glinted under fluorescent lights. Jordan exhaled. Here goes nothing. Sam spread an old gym towel on the floor and laid out chalk, salt, the silver locket, and flask of water. Jordan checked the lock. 12, 5, 19, then pulled. The door creaked open. Inside, the familiar stale air rose, carrying the faintest whisper. Jordan's jaw clenched. He stepped aside. Sam knelt and dusted chalk in a perfect circle around the interior rim of the locker. He worked methodically, tracing each room precisely as Larissa had drawn. Meanwhile, Jordan sprinkled salt along the bottom edge, careful to cover every crack. As they worked, the hallway lights began to flicker. A low moan drifted from inside the locker, a tangled chorus of Larissa's voice pleading, "Free me, please." Jordan swallowed, voice steady. "Sam, start the incantation." Sam cleared his throat and recited in a firm whisper, "By chalk unbroken, by salt laid clear, we call your name for all to hear. Larissa Preston, child of fear, untie the bond that binds you here." His voice wavered on the last line, but held firm. The salt glowed faintly, and the chalk circle shone with a phosphorescent light that seemed to pulse. The moans grew louder, then cut off abruptly. Silence, thick as syrup, enveloped them. Jordan held up the silver locket and whispered, "Larissa Preston." He shook it once, twice, 3 times as he turned the lock counterclockwise. 19, 5, 12. The dial spun freely now, the mechanism clicking in reverse. Suddenly, the locker door slammed against him. Jordan staggered back, the locket slipping from his hand into the black interior. He reached out instinctively, fingers brushing cold metal. A pale hand shot out from the darkness, grabbing Sam's wrist. Sam yelped, flashlight clattering to the floor. Jordan lunged and yanked Sam back, the hand vanishing with a soft snap. They scrambled to their feet. The chalk circle flickered and then cracked, thin lines spidering outward like broken glass. The salt dissipated, granules vanishing as though swallowed by the metal. Sam spat. "It's resisting." Jordan dropped to his knees and dipped his fingers in the flask of water. He stepped forward and splashed the liquid onto the runes. The water hissed and steamed. In the reflection of the lockers, Jordan thought he saw Larissa's face in the dark interior, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent cry. He let the water trickle down every edge of the chalk circle. Then he pressed a lavender oil vial to his nose, inhaling deeply. The scent cut through the stale air, calming his racing heart. He raised his voice, chanting the final lines of the diary's reversal. "From bloodless bond to spirit free, we break the chain, so mote it be." A roar like rushing wind tore through the hallway. Lockers rattled on either side. Students in distant classrooms jumped at phantom tremors. Jordan and Sam clung to each other as a blinding light erupted from the open locker, flooding the corridor with pale blue flame. They shielded their eyes. When the light abated, the locker stood open and empty, no sign of the chalk, salt, or locket. A single scrap of paper fluttered to the floor. Sam picked it up with shaking fingers. A torn diary page. The final entry they had just read, now blank. Jordan exhaled, voice husky. "Is it over?" They dared to peer inside. The locker's interior was clean, no bloodstains, no runes, just a cold metal surface. The faintest wisp of lavender-scented vapor drifted upward, dissipating in the stale air. Sam shivered. "I think so." He handed Jordan the scrap. "Keep this proof." Jordan folded it carefully. "We did it." A distant bell chimed, an alarm signaling the end of the class. They threw their supplies into their bags and hurried away, hearts pounding, adrenaline still thrumming in their veins. As they rounded the corner, Jordan glanced back. The row of lockers stood silent. Locker 213's door was closed, the combination lock intact. But in the polished metal above, Jordan thought he saw a faint, smiling face, barely visible. A girl with sad eyes watching them go. He blinked. The reflection was gone. Late that night, the corridors of Graymore Middle School lay silent under the glow of emergency lights. After the successful reversal ritual at locker number 213, Jordan and Sam had thought Larissa's spirit was finally at peace. But a guttural scream echoing down the hall shattered that belief. Jordan bolted out of the custodian's closet, his heart hammering. Sam followed, clutching the diary to his chest. The scream had come from the west wing, where rows of lockers flickered in wavering red light. It was 11:17 p.m. Their watches glowed faintly in the gloom. They hurried down the linoleum corridor, boots echoing around them. Locker doors clanged open and shut as if possessed. The air smelled of ozone, like a storm trapped indoors. and something moved in the shadows, darting between lockers. Did you see that? Sam hissed, pointing. Across the hall, locker number 217's door swung wide. Inside, they glimpsed a pale hand gripping the top edge, nails blackened and twisted. A faint sobbing drifted out. Jordan swallowed and stepped forward. We have to stop this, now. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a stick of chalk. Sam unscrewed the pouch of salt and a small flask of water. They had no time to lose. The spirit was spreading, animating every locker within reach. At locker 217, Jordan knelt and traced Larissa's reversal circle on the interior metal surface. His hand trembled as the chalk line glowed. Sam sprinkled salt along the bottom shelf. Above them, the hallway lights dimmed as if the spirit resisted. Behind them, a metallic creak heralded another locker opening. Jordan intoned the incantation from memory, voice low but unwavering. By chalk unbroken, by salt laid clear, we call your name for all to hear. Sam sprinkled water over the chalk circle. The white lines flared with pale blue fire. Inside number 217, a scream ripped free as a hand was yanked back and the door slammed shut. The chalk circle held, and the red emergency light flickered back to steady green. We got it, Sam panted. Jordan nodded. 1 down, 10 more to go. They rushed on. Each row formed a gauntlet of rattling doors and low wails. At number 218, Jordan's chalk shattered into fragments the moment he drew the circle, forcing him to use a second stick. Sam emptied half his salt bag onto the shelf. They barely finished before the spirit surged, tendrils of shadow coiling around the locker's edges. Speak the final binding. Sam shouted over the roar of clanking metal. They intoned together. Larissa Preston, child of fear, untie the bond that binds you here. The shadow exploded outward, recoiling into a single spray of pitch-black droplets that splashed against the floor. The line of chalk held firm. A low moan receded as the corridor fell silent. They paused to catch their breath. Sam checked his phone. 11:34 p.m. Only 46 minutes until midnight. If the spirit was targeting every locker, they had to move faster. A distant crash echoed from the north wing, metal slamming against metal. That wing housed 8 more locker rows. They sprinted toward the sound, chalk and salt clinking in their packs like a death knell. At locker number 225, Jordan found Sam's backpack, strung from the lock, dangling limply. Papers and colored pencils spun like macabre wind chimes. Sam lunged forward, but the door slammed shut at his touch. Not again, he yelped. Jordan shoved him aside and plunged his hand in, ripping free the backpack. The chalk circle he'd drawn a moment ago was smeared. Chalk ground to dust. The salt line had broken. He scrambled to redraw the runes, but the metal surface pulsed like living skin. Sam ripped off his sleeve and sprinkled granules of salt. Use water, he cried, passing over the flask. Jordan poured it over the runes in a single sweep. Steam hissed. The metal rippled. Jordan recited the final line through gritted teeth. From bloodless bond to spirit free, we break the chain, so mote it be. The locker convulsed, then exploded outward in a violence of sparks. The pair was thrown back, chalk dust settling like snow. Jordan coughed, blinking through the haze. Sam pounded his chest. You okay? Jordan wiped at his eyes. Yeah. You? Yeah, but we can't keep this up sloppy. They raced on, adrenaline sharpening their senses. At number 230, a faint whisper tickled Jordan's ear, help me, though the circle remained intact. He covered his mouth to stifle a gasp and redrew the runes along the inside top edge. Sam completed the salt line below. Together, they unleashed the binding. The locker shot open, and inside lay a lone basketball spinning on its shelf. Nothing more. They exhaled. 5 down, 5 to go, Jordan said, voice hoarse. They reached the last hallway before the gym. 4 rows remained. The spirit's presence was stronger here. Lockers rattled simultaneously, as if eager to devour them. At number 237, Jordan used a silver locket from Larissa's diary, swinging it over the chalk circle. Moments later, the runes flared when he called her name thrice. The door burst open, revealing nothing but empty space. No sign of a trapped soul. A single scrap of Larissa's hair ribbon lay on the floor. Jordan scooped it up. "Only 4 left," Sam said. They exchanged a grim nod and sprinted to number 240. Suddenly, a locker across the hall, hashtag 238, thudded to and fro, slamming shut repeatedly. A dark shape flickered inside the metal mesh vent at the top. "That one's not on our list," Jordan said, restraining Sam's rush forward. "But if it's active, we must bind it too." They crossed the hall. Jordan scrawled the chalk circle. Sam lined up Salt. But before they could speak the words, the locker door blew outward, slamming Jordan against the far wall. He hit the lockers and slid to the ground. Pain shot through his shoulder. From the lockers spilled ghostly apparitions. Pale, faceless children drifting outward in a swarm. Their mouths moved, silent screams forming on their lips. The apparitions swirled around Sam, tugging at his legs. Jordan scrambled up and yelled the incantation alone. "Larissa Preston, child of fear, untie the bond that binds you here." The chalk circle blazed white. The salt line glowed. The children's apparitions froze, then dissolved into motes of light that drifted back into the locker's dark interior. The door slammed shut once more, the metal standing still. Sam staggered to his feet, breathing hard. "Are you okay?" Jordan rubbed his arm where he'd hit the lockers. It hurt, but nothing was broken. "I'm fine. Let's finish." Only 2 remained. Lockers number 243 and number 246, nearest to the gym door. They could hear a janitor's footsteps beyond the exit. They had less than 10 minutes before the entire school came alive. They arrived at number 243. Jordan's hands shook as he chalked the circle. Sam poured salt. The metal hummed beneath their touch. Jordan spat out the words. "By chalk unbroken, by salt laid clear, we call your name for all to hear." Sam added, "By water's grace and silver chain, we end this torment, break these chains." The runes glowed. Inside number 243, a single locker door climbed up slowly, revealing the ghostly form of Larissa, translucent and trembling. She reached out, reaching toward Jordan with contorted fingers. "Larissa," Jordan whispered, "we're freeing you." He held up the silver locket. "Take this." Larissa's eyes, empty hollows of sorrow, flickered to the pendant. She drifted forward, passing through the chalk circle unimpeded. Jordan frowned. "No, she can't cross the barrier." Sam noticed the salt was half missing, scattered on the floor. "I think I knocks him off when I pull that kid in." Jordan cursed under his breath. The spirit's form solidified, growing taller and more monstrous with each heartbeat. "We don't have time to fix it. Move to number 246, and I'll stall her." Sam shook his head. "No way, I'm not leaving you." Jordan grabbed Sam's arm. "You have to. I can chant alone." Sam hesitated, then nodded. "Go. I'll lock this one down." They shared a tight look. "On 3, Jordan said. Sam squeezed his shoulder. 1, 2, 3. Sam sprinted toward number 246, leaving Jordan alone with the rampaging spirit of Larissa. Jordan pressed a chalk circle stick to his palm, spraying chalk dust into the air. Larissa's form convulsed, her wails piercing. Jordan recited the incantation, voice cracking but loud. "From bloodless bond to spirit free, we break the chain, so mote it be." The chalk line shimmered. Larissa's form writhed, caught in a spiral of pale light. The runes burned bright. She let out a final, anguished howl and vanished in a flash of blue-white light. Jordan fell to his knees, exhaustion overwhelming him. Gym bag and supplies clattered nearby. He pressed a hand to the chalk circle. It remained intact, miraculously unbroken. He staggered to his feet and ran to number 246, where Sam struggled to chalk the circle, sweat trickling down his face. They worked together, voices joining for final binding. The circle flared, the salt held firm, and the corridor at last fell silent. Panting, Jordan and Sam surveyed the row of lockers. Every door stood unmoving, as if returned to lifeless metal. Their watches read 11:59 p.m. Midnight struck precisely. They slumped against the wall, heads bowed. Sam exhaled, voice raspy. We did it. We sealed them all. Jordan nodded, shoulders shaking with relief. It's over. For a long moment they sat in peace, listening only to their own ragged breaths. Then Sam hissed, "We need to check number 213 one last time, just to be sure." Jordan agreed. Together, they crept down the final stretch to Larissa's original locker. At number 213, they found the chalk circle faintly glowing, salt line pristine, the silver locket resting on the floor inside. Jordan picked it up and closed the door. He spun the lock. The metal clicked into place. They stepped back into the empty hallway, shoulders slack with fatigue. Jordan glanced at the row of silent lockers. Let's never come back here again. Sam managed a weak laugh. Agreed. They headed for the exit, daylight just beginning to sliver under the doors. As they passed locker number 213, Jordan felt a sudden chill. He turned and pressed his ear against the metal. Silence. He exhaled and followed Sam out, leaving the school in quiet dawn. The late September sun rose pale and gentle over Graymore Middle School, painting the red brick facade in soft light. By 7:15 a.m., students poured through the main doors, chattering about homework and weekend plans. Jordan Bell and Sam Patel slipped into courtyard, backpacks slung carelessly over their shoulders, faces weary but relieved. "Feels weird being back to normal," Jordan admitted as they settled on a bench near the fountain. He traced circles in the concrete with his fingertip, like the whole night never happened. Sam unfolded a cafeteria tray. "I'm just glad I didn't find any more creepy runes in my math notebook." He grinned. Lunchables taste better when you think you're not going to be possessed. Jordan managed a weak laugh. True. He glanced at the row of lockers lining the courtyard wall. Locker number 213 sat between 212 and 214, its door dented but otherwise unremarkable. He imagined the metal humming beneath its paint, but nothing stirred. Their first period class, literature with Mrs. Caldwell, began at 8 o'clock. They trudged to their desks, expecting to feel echoing footsteps or flickering lights. But the bell rang on time, and the room remained quiet. The morning passed without incident. Sam answered questions about metaphors with uncharacteristic enthusiasm, and Jordan found himself scribbling neat notes on the treasure of Lemon Brown rather than scanning the hallway for ghostly figures. At lunch, they swapped stories of their classmates' antics. Jordan even forgot to mention the lingering lavender scent that still clung faintly to his shirt. In art class, Jordan painted a landscape of rolling hills, vibrant greens and golds that felt ironically cheerful after last night's darkness. Sam sketched superheroes in his notebook, oblivious to anything more supernatural than a badly drawn cape. When the final bell rang at 3:15 p.m., the school day ended as routinely as it had begun. Jordan and Sam walked the familiar sidewalks toward home, swapping plans for a video game marathon. Normal life reclaimed them like a warm blanket. That evening, Jordan's mom called him down for pasta and meatballs. He wolfed down 2 servings, the rich tomato sauce unfamiliar yet delicious. After dinner, he did his math homework in the family room while Mom straightened up. The lavender oil still sat on his desk, and used. He glanced at it, but left it untouched. Before bed, Jordan double-checked his locker. He inserted the combination 12, 5, 19, and opened the door. The interior was empty. He breathed out a slow sigh. He closed and relocked it. Nothing else felt worth mentioning to his parents. He told them he'd had a rough night, but was fine now. His father ruffled his hair and said middle school was always a bit scary the first month. That night, Jordan dreamed of locker doors sliding open one after another, each revealing only darkness. He woke at 2:13 a.m., heart pounding, but the hallway was quiet. He dozed again without checking the lock. 3 days later, Graymore Middle regained its usual rhythm. Pop quizzes, gym class dodgeball, and whispered rumors of a new playground being installed. No sign of haunted lockers. Jordan and Sam traded laughs at Sam's house over video games, completely forgetting the diary tucked in Jordan's backpack. But on Friday evening, the school custodian, Mr. Hobbs, began his nightly rounds at 7 p.m. His routine was steadfast. lock exterior doors, swipe the cafeteria disinfecting cloth over tables, and check each locker row for stray debris. He hummed an old country tune as he wheeled his cart down the first floor corridor. At the locker bank by the main hall, he paused. The metal door of number 213, sealed only days ago, hung slightly ajar, unbidden. Mr. Hobbs frowned. He was certain he had closed it that morning, the heavy click of its lock still familiar on his palm. He reached out and tapped the door. It swung inward with a hollow creak. Leaning in, he shone his flashlight into the interior. The light revealed nothing but a layer of dust and a faint outline of chalk residue on the back panel. All seemed ordinary until he spotted the message scratched into the metal. "Thank you, but I'm still hungry." Mr. Hobbs's eyes darted to the corridor beyond. The hallway lights flickered. A distant locker door slammed shut, echoing like a gunshot. His mustache trembled as he wiped sweat from his brow. He backed away, heart pounding, and called through crackling radio. "Mike to security, locker 213's open. I need a hand down here." He heard no reply, static only. The radio screen blinked a no signal. Mr. Hobbs swallowed hard. He glanced at the scratch message again. The letters, once bright with fresh gouges, seemed to ride in the beam of his flashlight. He took a cautious step backward, and the message peeled itself from the metal, curling upward like thin ribbons. The chalk dust stirred, forming a spiral that drifted out of sight. Mr. Hobbs dropped the flashlight, its beam swinging wildly until it clattered to the floor and died. For a moment, complete silence. Then slithering footsteps sounded from somewhere behind him. Soft, deliberate, like metal on tile. Mr. Hobbs froze, every muscle locked. He cursed under his breath and backed away toward the exit door. As he reached the door, he dared a glance back at locker 213. Its door stood closed once more, lock intact. Yet for a heartbeat, he swore he saw a pale handprint glaring against the chipped paint. Then it vanished, erased by some unseen hand. Mr. Hobbs bolted to the main office, slamming a janitor's key against a locked door until it clicked. Inside, he flipped on every light, his chest heaving. He swallowed hard and picked up the phone. "Principal Richards? It's Hobbs. I think the locker is not done." The next Monday, Jordan and Sam met by their lockers, laughing about a spilled milk fiasco in the cafeteria. They nudged 213 with their hips, half expecting it to open, but nothing happened. Sam jabbed Jordan's side. "Dude, did you hear? Mr. Hobbs had to call the principal over the weekend." Jordan's stomach tightened. "What for?" Sam hesitated, lowering his voice. He said locker 213 was open when he checked, and there was a message carved in it. He swore he saw it move on its own. Jordan's breath caught. "What did it say?" Sam grimaced. "I don't know." He refused to say more, too freaked out. "But now there's a new custodian this week." Jordan nodded numbly, glancing at the locker's smooth metal facade. He approached and touched the nameplate. L. Preston 83, cool and solid. He slipped his hand inside the lock's mesh vent. No chalk, no salt, nothing. He stepped back as a swarm of students rushed past. His pulse thundered. Sam slung an arm around his shoulder. "Want to skip pee?" Jordan managed a shaky smile. "Yeah, I'm white." They drifted down the hall together, but Jordan's mind rattled with fear. He retrieved Larissa's diary from his backpack, now empty of the final entry. He opened to a blank page, then flipped back to earlier instructions, to ward, to seal, to free. He closed the book with a soft snap. There was nothing left to read, save a memory that some bonds do not easily break. That night, Jordan lay in bed listening to the wind drifting through his open window. He reached for his phone and typed a quick note. "Sam, meet in my garage at midnight. Bring chalk, salt, water, lavender oil. We need to finish this once and for all." He hesitated, thumb hovering over send. Then he deleted the message, turned off the light, and curled into the dark. Outside, the moon hung low and silent. And somewhere, far down the vacant corridors of Graymore Middle, locker number 213 waited, patient, hungry, and not yet done. That's the end of tonight's tale. I hope it gave you a little chill and a lot of calm. With any luck, you're already sound asleep. Didn't even hear the ending. Did you? But if you're still awake, how about another? Sleep well, dream better, and I'll see you next time.